What happened to your school, bad boy, girl? My biggest bully in high school ended up going to prison. Funny thing though, my mom worked in that prison, and they got to know each other. When he got out, he found me and apologized. He later got a job at a local Taco Bell, and whenever I came in he would always add a bunch of free stuff to my order. I haven't seen him in almost 2 decades. But I know he became a dad. I actually hope he's doing well. Edit, just looked him up. Had 3 kids, a wife, and is a contractor now. I'm glad he turned it around. Wow, that's actually a great ending. Wholesome. He's an eggplant farmer. Literally. Edit, all the questions of how one would be a figurative eggplant farmer. I have no clue. What I do know is if you asked me what I do for work and I said, I'm an eggplant farmer, your first thought would probably not be that my field is aubergine husbandry. Delightfully niche. Definitely a quiet lifestyle. I can respect it. Shot and killed 2 fellow students behind a Publix across the road. So now he's in prison. Like it was straight out of a movie. He died in a car crash the night of graduation. Drugs. Drugs and brain damage. In middle school there were these twins who were both really cool. They had a band, one did drums while the other sang and played guitar. Skated. Occasionally got in trouble with the law but for really small things. A few months ago I was taking a bus when I saw them get on. They were clearly homeless and one of them kept whining to the other that he needed his fix. He passed out and his brother half-heartedly puked into his hand. Eventually the bus driver saw one of them strip down to his boxers to get some non-puke stained clothes on and told them to get the F off the bus. Told my folks about seeing the twins. Apparently they've been in and out of jail for years. Other guy the first did karate with in middle and high school and was a sweet guy who had a bit of a temper and was a bit of a troublemaker. I saw him on the streets. We were both in our mid-20s but he looked like he was pushing 40. He talked slow. One side of his face drooped even when he smiled and he walked with a limp. I later found out that he was an on and off heroin addict and had been in enough fights that he was permanently brain damaged. Geez. Yeah. Seeing people like this whenever I step out becomes a reminder for me to not even think about trying all those pills and powders. Lots of meth. She posts photos of her newborn boy and calls him her SY little man. I'm fairly certain one of the prominent and popular bad girls at my school ended up as a prostitute. A few years after graduation she kept posting about how people should come get massages at this sketchy spa she worked at downtown. She also kept posting about her modeling career. But all the photos were behind a pretty steep paywall. So I'm pretty sure that was PN. Anyway, I read in the news one day that this spa she worked at was raided by the cops and the owner was arrested for running a prostitution ring. She suddenly stopped posting after that. Fairly certain. I'm thinking that a jury would find that beyond a reasonable doubt. Laughing face. Alcoholic. Missing most all his teeth. Usually in between jobs in either lawn service or pest control. Has custody of his kids cause he's the good parent. She's dead. OD right out of high school. I feel like for a lot of bad boys, girls, you get to a point where it's like F it, I probably won't live much longer anyways. So you just get worse and worse until you do finally kick it or find a way to get yourself killed. He got arrested for spray painting a wall and happy ending. He went back to school and got into uni. Edit, no, the painting did not have a happy ending. His story did. Nice to see a happy ending. 2 bad boys. Both brothers. A few years apart. The younger one started some sort of legitimate business, think Roy from The Office, and seems to be doing extremely well. The oldest is literally homeless and constantly begging for money on Facebook. It's really sad. He wasn't the quintessential bad boy but did drugs. Drank. Got arrested for drugs. Total partier. Always nice to me and we were friendly but that whole scene just wasn't my thing. That was 1981 and up until 2013 wondered whatever happened to him. Found out my daughter's new boyfriend was his son. I was very relieved to find out that shortly after high school he realized he was going nowhere fast. Cleaned himself up and started a successful business. Thrilled to say that my husband and I share 2 beautiful grandchildren with he and his wife and I couldn't be more happy about it. That's the best thing I've read in this post. He moved to California and became an ad film director. His Instagram stream regularly contains pics of him posing with topless models, celebs and fancy cars and bikes. He also has a boat. So, he's living up to his childhood image. I say. Had her second kid at 14. Good lord. That makes me sad. School bad boy. When I was there was my older brother. Drug dealer. Played in a metal band. General smartass and asshole. He flunked out of college after 2 semesters and has been waiting tables since then. He turns 30 this year. And the girl he's dating now is the first one who's stayed with him for more than 6 months. She's super cool, actually. But like 5 years younger than him. They have a couple dogs. Smoke a lot of weed. And play a lot of D&D. Last I heard from him, he was escalating a feud with his neighbor by putting a plate and a half worth of loose cooked spaghetti in her mailbox. That ending OMG hahaha. He had kids early. Still lives in his parents' basement. The life. Living the dream. The dream of eternal despair. We had a couple. Myself included. I think there was about 8 in total. I'm all that's left. The rest are dead or incarcerated. I hope you're doing well for yourself. Came from a bad group myself and am now making things better for myself. That was me. I went to live with my uncle. He spent about 5 years intensively working with me and now I'm good. Nice guy. Went to prison for selling drugs to minors about a year after he left our school. She was a bit of a goth. Smoked in front of the school. Smoked pot behind the gym. Graduated valedictorian. Went to Stanford on a full-ride scholarship. Goth valedictorian? Awesome. Big TY goth valedictorian? Love those search results on the hub. Not sure how this happened. But there were 3 bad boys on our football team. All players and all very good looking. They cussed, drank, smoked all the time, and were constantly getting laid, or at least telling everyone they were. Right around senior year, college, they each went through some change and are all now born-again Christians. No partying, less cussing, and none of them talk about women in an objectifying way. It's great but kinda unnerving in a way. Right. Like, did they go on a bender and murder someone together? This is the best theory to explain this that I've heard so far. Apparently, just looking at Facebook, he's now a nerdy hipster who frequently donates to various charities. In high school, he was a scene metal kid who had a penchant for beating up his many girlfriends. Last I heard of him, he was totaling his dad's car and was kind of a running joke around town. I was the bad girl. I was very academically gifted, but had a bad home life. So I smoked cigarettes and weed. Drank a fair bit of vodka. Basically did everything I could to rebel against authority. I once threw a jar of blood on the principal, animal blood. Long story. Ended up getting kicked out. Spent 2 years on the streets with a bad drug habit and surviving through SX work. Had a massive OD, turned my life around. Worked in transport, logistics. Now at 30 I'm at university. Studying computer science, engineering. I'll be 34 when I graduate. Glad to hear you turned your life around. All the best luck to you, sis. I know y'all are not going to believe this one, but the bad boy, super jacked dude. Dude bro. Blonde blue eyes jock that got all the women. Well, he's doing gay porn at a professional level these days. So there's that. He's doing fine though. The bad girl that everyone was in love with, not me at the time though. She turned out to be a very sweet person with an abusive dad, and that made her be so rebellious and edgy back in high school. Well, she's my ex-wife now. So there's that. She's doing fine though. That escalated quickly. The jock or my ex-wife or both? Haha. I guess I was bad boy in high school. 2 of the girls I dated called me their bad boy phase years later. I thought I was so bad too because I didn't give a s about anything and broke every rule I thought was stupid. Then I got sent to a school filled with kids way worse than me. My graduating class was around 20. I think. I maintained the same attitude about everything but somehow graduated. I was considered a good kid in that school because I did half my school work and I wasn't shooting up or partying every weekend. Anyway, now I'm closing in on 30. I have a good job, approximately $65K a year. Quite a bit in the S-hole city I live in, and just bought my dream car. I'm currently sitting on my couch. Typing this in an awkward position because my cat decided to go to sleep right where my arm would go. Sorry if that was poorly written. I just did shots with my grandmother over Skype for her birthday. Greater than I just did shots with my grandmother over Skype for her birthday. Bad boys for life. He became the mayor now. No one expected this would happen. The jerk on my debate team became mayor and went to jail for embezzlement. She dropped out of school to travel the world with her suspected PP. She has since gotten her GED and is now studying business at some university in Las Vegas. He's a DJ in a nightclub and is a good friend of mine. I used to do his homework and he'd buy me lunch. I managed to get him in my study group so he didn't bully us. But he'd spend most of his time drunk or with girls or getting into fights. He is a good friend of mine as well as the other nerds of the group now. We were in a reunion celebrating 10 years of our graduation like 2 years ago and he invited us to the nightclub where he works and I hated the music but everyone seemed to like it. He got divorced last year though. Not nice. But he's got his S together so we all cheer him up. Finally something positive. My school's bad boy girl never got traction. But the whole popular guy is now overweight and balding. And recently hit on my at the gym. I was an awkward band kid. And grew into a very pretty lady. F you. Chad. For real. His name is Chad. Closing parenthesis.